Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another interview with one of Envision Horizons strategic partners. Today, we have Pam from Socialfly, who is their Director of Influencer Marketing. Pam, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Pamela Ciprian, and I am the Influencer Marketing Director here at Socialfly. I really just lead our influencer marketing division that does everything from strategic plans to execution and reporting for all of our clients across the board. I have over 10 years of experience in the space working with small and big brands from all verticals alike.
Fantastic. And today we're going to discuss opportunities that brands who are selling on Amazon as well as with their own D2C have when it comes to influencer marketing. Brands are, I think, even though influencer marketing has been around for a while, they're still trying to figure out how can they do it where it's cost effective, that it's aligned with their brand, and also, so it's not a total headache, because we found that with a lot of our clients, gone are the days of Amazon being a platform where you can just throw up listings and things can just take off organically. And even just using Amazon's own advertising tools, it still can be very hard to break through the competition in very saturated and competitive categories like supplements, like beauty, like fashion, the list goes on. My first question for you today is, when it comes to influencers, what is really the best strategy when it comes to finding them? Are you better off going micro influencers like the around 10,000 followers? Or are there still opportunities today with working with some of the more macro size influencers and reaching those substantial audience sizes?
So there's a lot of benefits in both working with micro 10,000 follower influencers and your more macro established influencers with a much larger audience. It will always come back to the brand objectives and what you're trying to accomplish. And something that is also very important is to really authentically connect with the influencer that you're working with, whether it's a beauty brand, a supplement, fashion brand, whatever the category that you're in. You want to make sure that you're partnering with influencers that believe in your product, because the first thing is that authenticity is key on social media. And if they're not authentically promoting that and recommending that, that's going to be, it's going to come across in the content. Another thing that's very important to consider, no matter the size of the influencer, is who their audience is and what their engagement rates are. How many people are actually looking to them to promote products to kind of get that recommendation from, I think, and how many people are engaging with that type of content that they're usually sharing.
Awesome. And so it sounds like when working with influencers, it's like any relationship, right? A lot of it is finding that right match culturally too. How can brands that are growing quickly, that have a lot on their plate, when bandwidths are limited, how do you do it correctly?
I would say find a great agency that you can partner with that has those relationships, that has the expertise, it has the know-how of how to really tap into the right partners for your brand, because it really is a labor of love. And that's one of the biggest hurdles I know for smaller brands, is that it does require an investment of time and resources. That is really what is going to be the key to success, is investing in the results that you're looking to achieve.
And earlier you talked about making sure that you have the right age group and just the right demographic overall. And when I originally think of influencer marketing, I think of the brands that are really focused on the younger consumer, the Gen Z, even kind of the millennials. What can brands do who maybe their target market are the Gen X and older millennials that are parents? Is it going after the mommy blogger types? Where can you even find these influencers that appeal to an older consumer?
There still are millions of users that are within all of those different age brackets, from your grandmothers to your young millennial mothers to your kind of in between. So finding the influencers that those people follow, who are they looking to for the guidance and the advice? Who are they engaging with? What type of content are they engaging with? And also looking at the platforms. I would say that no platform right now is only for one generation. Obviously, there are certain platforms the younger demographic inclines to a little bit, but we're really seeing now that those lines are getting blurred. A platform like TikTok, which originally was like, oh, for the younger audience, now is being used by older people as well. It's about finding the right people that are kind of really reach your target demographic and looking at the data behind what their audience looks like and ensuring that it's also within kind of the right category. Because when we say nowadays, mommy bloggers, but like that can mean a lot of different things. At the end of the day, moms are just people with children. So what are the other underlining interests that those moms have that can potentially connect you even deeper from a brand perspective and from a storytelling perspective, and really ensure that that person that you're partnering with has the right audience in terms of age bracket, in terms of life stage, in terms of location even. So kind of like really doing a deep dive into the data and then just going to where the influencers are.
And to do influencer marketing right, not only does it take a lot of time, but it also takes a lot of money. So, how do you properly track the success when partnering with an influencer? Because in some ways, it's kind of like the new digital billboard, that it's
Yeah.
definitely a brand awareness investment, but you still want to be able to tie it back to a lift in sales and see that ROI. So, what are some best practices there?
I would say that making sure that everything is trackable and that you also have very clear KPIs set in the forefront. So if your campaign is aiming to generate awareness and to just cut into the clutter of other competitors, get your brand name out there, have some brand recognition, the approach is going to be very different in terms of the content as if you are looking to drive sales. But still including, no matter what your objective is, including trackable links, including swipe ups, including, where can you find this product? Where can you find more? Tagging the brand, ensuring that it is 100% clear what the brand is, what the product is, and that if you do have the opportunity to send to a storefront like an Amazon or the own brand's page, that you have the proper UTM links in place so that you can track how the content for each influencer is performing at the granular level. So not only how many swipe ups and clicks they're getting, but also how many sales are coming from that swipe up and click.
And in your experience, are there certain call to actions that you see being more successful than others?
Yeah, so in the past, it really depends on the vertical, but we've seen that surprisingly, like learn more, or like swipe up, just something very, very clear is always the best way to approach it. Even as like swipe up and like including like that like pointing finger or something that really catches people's attention.
Awesome. And I keep going back to the time and money, but for brands that are hesitant in investing, I feel like influencer marketing is one of those things where, like, unlike pay-per-click advertising where you can test a small budget, you do have to have a budget of somewhat substantial size. Is there, I guess, a minimum investment level that you think exists for it to really be worth it?
Yeah, I would say that you do need a more substantial investment than a $5,000 campaign, just because a campaign of that small budget is just going to get you nano influencers, which are great from an awareness perspective, but they really don't have the reach to drive a lot of sales. So I would say that it always goes back to what the objective is. If you're looking to drive sales, you do need to have a more substantial investment. But it's also kind of like if you were doing traditional marketing, traditional advertising, usually don't count the production value into the ROI costs,
Mhm.
usually kind of separate that. So looking at it from that perspective as well, I definitely think that it's a worthy investment. It's also an opportunity to test and to try and to challenge the brand, to challenge your audience, to see what they like and what they enjoy, and also what drives some sales for your brand as well.
And I know that there's some marketing quote about how a consumer has to see a product 8 times before they're likely to purchase the product.
Yeah.
And when you're going about building strategies for brands, are you building out long-term say like a 8 or 10 post engagement with an influencer, or is it still popular to maybe just do one post with with a group of influencers and then see what the results are, and then maybe work with them again in the future type of thing?
Yeah, I would definitely say that that's probably the most common approach, just because to build out a multi-campaign partnership with an influencer, with a group of influencers, is usually very costly. There are a lot of opportunities to do those longer term partnerships where, to your point, you can have the frequency with the one influencer and her audience. But there is also a little bit of a saturation aspect to it. So you want to make sure that you are always keeping your messaging fresh so that it does feel unique to each campaign, and it doesn't feel like you're just running an ad on their page, because they're not, even though those statistics are true of the amount of the frequency, but these are people, they're not a television channel or network. So the perspective is a little different. I would say that we typically like to partner with a group of influencers versus just one or two, so that we can get some frequency in that way as well, and like multiple pieces of content per partnership and per campaign.
Got it. And what formats are you seeing, like video reviews of a product, like in the beauty category, like, oh, this is part of my morning routine and getting ready. And even, the difference in success between posts and stories. Where's the money to be made here?
Yeah, I definitely think that dynamic content, so video content, reel content, TikTok content, stories, just content that really allows the influencer to go a little bit more in depth than just a written caption, is really shining in terms of results right now when you compare it to some of the other types of posts that influencers can create for brands. But there's still a lot of value in that in-feed post and in having that real estate in the influencer's feed. There's also value from a brand perspective to reuse that content long-term as well. So it really does depend on what you're trying to accomplish. But if I had to pinpoint one type of content, I would call it dynamic content. So content that is not just static images anymore, but is really showing the product in action, showing the influencer using the product, and really kind of having that more thumb stopping power. And also social platforms a lot of times are prioritizing those video pieces over the static images.
Yes. Awesome. So if a brand were, to walk away from this interview with just a few main nuggets of information, they want to go out and really scale up their influencer marketing, what do you think they should take from this conversation and that they should be implementing in their own marketing and advertising strategies?
Definitely. I would say my first tip would be to define what your objective is. What exactly are you trying to accomplish? And I say this again and again. What is your one objective? How are you measuring success? How are you trying to reach that level of success? And then also establishing who your target audience is very, very specifically. If you had to put a name and a face to your target audience, who is this person? So that you can then find the right influencers for your brand and for your campaign, and making sure that you are approaching an influencer campaign as a partnership versus I'm hiring you to create branded content. Look at it as this content is going to live on their feeds, on their channels. It's in their voice. They're talking to their audience. You're partnering with them to, as a brand advocate, as an ambassador, and you want their real personal take on it. And you also want them to have creative, liberties, ensuring that your brand message is still coming across. So those would be kind of like my key nuggets. So define your objective, ensure that you know who your target audience is, find the right influencers, and then approach it as a partnership and really just allow them to be super authentic and real with what they're creating.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time this morning. If listeners want to be able to contact you and get in touch to learn more about Socialfly services, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, definitely. You can contact us at info@socialflynewyork.com. You can also find us on all social channels at just looking for Socialfly New York, and you'll be able to find us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.